The Canadian pastor is refusing his bail conditions against the oppressive, communist, China virus shutdown government in Canada. It's ridiculous. And 1/3 of U.S. troops are turning down the Chinese Communist Party virus vaccine, according to the Pentagon, which is nice, I think. And U.S. life expectancy has dropped by a year amid this so-called pandemic, according to the far-left Enemies of America Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is the end of Hour 1 of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. It is Friday, February 19th, 2021. Stay tuned for Hour 2. Jesse Lee Peterson will be right back. But first, Hake news, not fake news. The Alberta pastor who was charged with breaking COVID-19 restrictions refuses his bail conditions, according to the Epoch Times. A pastor at an Edmonton church remains in custody, reportedly, after being charged with breaking Alberta, Canada's COVID shutdown rules, and refusing compliance with his bail conditions. Pastor James Coates, Coates, of Edmonton's Grace Life Church, has been defying public health orders for weeks and holding services that provincial officials say violate the COVID restrictions on maximum gathering capacity, masking, and social distancing. According to a public statement, Grace Life Church had changed to live streaming services to abide by the government regulations when COVID first emerged. It reopened on Sunday services in June 2020 after the initial public health emergency ended, so-called emergency. In December 2020, Grace Life Church was fined $1,200 for hosting more people than the 15% limit, and was issued closure order in January of 2021. When the church continued Sunday gatherings, Coates was charged with one count of breaking Public Health Act on February 7th, 2021, and was later released. After RCMP and Alberta Health Services attended his service on February 14th and found that Coates has continued to defy his release conditions, he was charged a second time on the 16th, just the 16th. Coates turned himself into Parkland RCMP and remains in custody. Following bail hearings before a justice of the peace, Coates was to be released Tuesday on conditions, but he remained in custody overnight after refusing to agree to those conditions. This morning, provincial court, he continued to refuse to agree with those conditions. Grace Life said that many Albertans had become afraid and were convinced of the efficacy of government lockdowns for two reasons: misinformation and fear-mongering. Very true. The media has so pounded the COVID-19 drum since the pandemic, quote-unquote, began, almost exclusively emphasizing caseload and deaths, that people are fearful. So fearful, in fact, that they have been convinced that yielding up their civil liberties to the government is in their best interests. Suckers. Well, I said suckers. He didn't say suckers. 1/3 of U.S. troops reportedly are turning down the CCP virus vaccine, according to the Pentagon. That's from the Epoch Times. At a hearing, Major General Jeff Taliaferro, who is a top so-called official at the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he said acceptance rates are somewhere near 2/3, in the 2/3 territory. We need to continue to educate our forces to help them understand the benefits. Another Major General, Stephen Nordhaus, told the panel that 2/3 to 70% of the National Guard are getting it, just like the rest of the military. Bob Salesis is the acting defense secretary under fake Biden-Harris. Representative Mike Rogers, a Republican out of Alabama, said that it's critical for our national security that every service member, as well as DoD civilian personnel and contractors, receive vaccines as soon as possible. What? Both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are for the commie virus, right? Are under emergency use authorization with the FDA, meaning that the agency has not fully cleared their usage. And U.S. life expectancy has dropped by a year amid the pandemic, according to the CDC. A huge decline. You have to go back to World War II, according to one guy at the CDC. I'm James Hake.